So, in bringing a proposal forth, we'll talk about the process, what a document designer would look for or go through the process of designing a project, and how they bring that project forth to city council or maybe state legislators. In introducing a proposal, I think the first step you'd really want to do is you'd want to find someone that you feel would sponsor your project. Sometimes, most of the time, this is really done through verbal discussion, sit down and talking with a person or elected official who you feel really is behind your project. And then the merits of that project is something that you really want to discuss initially. If the elected official really likes what your project is about, then at some point you will need to start putting your project on paper. It does help to have that project on paper initially if you feel that strongly about it. That way, after your initial contact with the elected official, he can walk away with something, even if it's just bullets, some type of facts, or something that really supports your cause or the proposal that you have in mind. One of the items within your proposal that you really want to stress is the impact and how large of an audience base or how large of a community it's going to impact. The larger the community, the more interest that you're going to get from your elected official. If it's just a handful of people or just a small neighborhood, then you would probably be looking more at just a city councilor or something much more local than something larger, where if you're looking at doing a licensing project or a project that's going to affect a much larger region. One example now is the licensing of pets within our county, where you're looking at affecting how it's going to affect both county and Las Cruces residents. So you're having to talk with a broader base of elected officials. So you want to come forth with something that shows some facts and figures, and then I would say eventually you're going to turn those facts and figures into a proposal. So what you're looking at this proposal again is audience, who it's going to affect, and also the big time picture of how it will affect everyone in the long run. If you're looking at an extra tax, an extra fee to support your project at hand, or is it going to be grant funded because grants run out? So the funding part is also going to be an important aspect of your proposal. So another part that you're going to look at besides, you're going to look at audience, you're going to look at funding, and then the other aspect you're going to look at is agencies that are willing to work together on this project. The more that you have multiple agencies working together, it always aids the cause because it shows that there's a much greater interest than just the local level or just a handful of community residents trying to move a project forward. So those three things I would say are probably the biggest value in moving a project forward. So the number or the size of the community, the financial aspect, and then the agencies involved, or multi-agencies. In terms of document design, what we're looking at is, of course, it's going to have a clean appearance, but definitely at the very beginning, you're going to have to state your objectives and your goals at the very beginning. What are your objectives and what are your goals? Objectives are going to lay the groundwork of where this project is going to head, and what are the outcomes of that project. And then your goals are definitely going to be the markers. For example, after year one, we will accomplish X amount. Year two, the same amount or plus some. And so the objectives and goals are definitely things or items that need to be within any proposal. And then also, if it involves funding, you definitely need to write your funding, a budget. Budgets always add value to a proposal. The reason being, even if it's totally funded, the reason being that it adds value is because it shows that you have thought through that process of how much it's going to cost, and it also shows a certain level of competency from the person that's proposing the project. So by adding a budget and going through that budget process or that budget thinking, like I said, even if it's totally funded already, really makes a big difference. And so elected official or whoever's going to support your project, even if it's the constituents or the larger community, they can easily see your project, see the budget cost, and see the value of your project. The last thing I think that we want to talk about is process, and as mentioned, in processing, going through the process of moving a project forward, as mentioned earlier, is you definitely want to look for or seek an elected person that really supports your cause. And then once identifying that person, even if it's just through a phone call, contacting that person, letting them know, or even sending them an email, letting them know what your intent is, scheduling a meeting with that person, and then moving forward with your proposal. And it's really that simple in terms of trying to get a project to move forward and hopefully attaining the outcome or the benefit to a community.
Can you speak briefly on ways that students can find good information to kind of base their proposal on, where they could find some models, and where within the community as well they could look for information?
Yeah, I always, when a person or a group of people comes to me with just a proposal, we always try to find out if there are other communities that have done similar projects. It always benefits if another community has done another project. There's a project now, or just recently a group of persons came to me with a project, and the first thing we did was we called the town of Silver City, we called Albuquerque, we called Santa Fe, and asked them if they had passed similar resolutions. Albuquerque and Silver City had, and they were able to fax to us their resolution, so we weren't starting from ground zero. And it really helps when that occurs, and it also helps in the decision-making process too, because no city wants to be left behind. And so that is one way to go about, if you hear that another community has gone through the process and attained similar results or done similar projects, contact that community and attain information from them. So that's a really positive way, and the best way to do that is through the city clerk, or the city or county clerk. They have the information at hand, and all, especially if it's public record. Now with internet, many communities are putting all their resolutions online, so you can go to their website and do web searches on city websites. So that's another way to get some information at hand.
Great, thank you.
You bet.